Hello everyone, this is Ben from VGBlaster, and over the weekend I went to the Bushy Championship Series Autumn Circuit, the UK National Championships for Buddyfight, and as you can see by this lovely playmat, I made top 8 again, and actually won this time. If you watch my previous video from the Spring Circuit, I managed to come second. This time I managed to take the whole thing, so I'll be going to Japan in January to represent the UK for Buddyfight, which is amazing. Hasn't really kind of sunk in for me yet. It's one of my dreams to just go there in general. So I can't wait, honestly. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, as you can see, lovely new top 8 playmat. I'm going to go through the deck I took. So in order for that, we're gonna have to get rid of this because we're gonna talk about Jack. If you are new to my channel, I did make a video about my second place Spring Circuit build. This is just an updated version of that. That video is like 40 minutes where I go into full depth of all the cards in the deck. So I'm not going to waste as much time on this video. You can watch that if you want to know, full card effects, stuff like that. But for this video, I'm just going to go through my new additions. This is the OTK kind of rush build that I started with in my Spring Circuit build, and now kind of have. I feel like I'm perfected until we get new support, hopefully in Rainbow Striker. So I'll just jump right into it. So we are of course Star Dragon World. We are running Galaxy, Dragon and Jackknife as our buddy. He's the key piece, key card to the deck. So we run him at 4. Obviously skill, after he's attacked you can call another Jackknife on top of him from your drop zone, just by paying its call cost. Very good card, he makes up the majority of your plays. So that's why he is buddy. Next, 4 copies of Full Liberate. I'm actually going to zoom in because I'm way out on these cards now. Yeah, 4 copies of Full Liberate, remove a soul to restand it. Even more important into this build, because of some new combinations you can do, which I'll go into a little later. But yeah. So for the first new addition to the deck, we run 4 copies of Hero Dragon Jackknife. His core cost is you have to put this card on top of a monster on your field and pay 1 gauge, and its ability is when this card enters the field, look at the top card of your deck, you then may put that card into this card's soul or into your hand. So you either call it on top of another Jackknife through means of like Mayday or something like that, or you just throw a Dragon Arms down and then call it straight on top. Stops it being popped instantly for coming onto the field. You then look at the top card of your deck, obviously. You're either going to get more soul because it's going to be a Dragon Arms you want in, or you're going to get a card into your hand that you really want. Very useful for stuff like that. It helped me hit spells I really needed throughout the day. Really good, suggest running it at 4. Yeah. So next we go into our second new Jack. This is Star Dragon and Jackknife SD. Very underrated card in my opinion. I didn't see a lot of people playing it. There was a few Jacks there. I don't know if they just didn't have the card or not, but its ability is when this card enters the field, choose a Neo Dragon on your field, put the top 3 cards of your deck into the drop zone and put a monster from among those 3 cards into the chosen card's soul. He also has Soul Guard as well, which is amazing. So you can just slap him down, mill 3, and then put one of those into either him or another Jack you've got on the field. Really good for setup, especially for something like Galaxy, because you need a card in the drop zone to call him. So you slap this down first, you'll mill 3 cards, if you get 2 Dragon Arms, amazing, put one into him, and then save the other for Galaxy Jack's core cost, or just put any card into him, and then put the Dragon Arms you want into your Galaxy for your bigger plays. It's even better when you mill another Jackknife, like if you mill a Full Liberate as well, then he's in the drop zone ready for Galaxy. So yeah, SD just helps with a lot of setup. Also, if you just want the extra push, there's so many times I'd play it and I'd get a Triple Buster off the top 3 or a Spell Nullifier or something like that, just to help me finish off the game. So really good. He has taken over Luminous Blue. I feel kind of does the job better. Maybe some people think Luminous Blue is a bit more efficient because you just choose something in the drop zone. If you haven't got anything in the drop zone you need, then I don't know, and Luminous Blue can be taken out quite easily. But yeah. So next, Quantum Ruler is down to 3 copies. When it enters the field, if you have a Neo Dragon for Soul, you get a gauge and a draw. Just helpful. You need you need just bits of gauge to do more stuff, and then the draw, always good, to dig it into your deck. If you remember from previous build, you need to dig in and draw. This deck carries that on, so that's what Quantum is there for. Also, he has 4K power. Jack SD only has 3. 4 is a magic number against bats. Most bats have 4K defense, so if you know you're not going to finish your opponent that turn, Quantum is really good just for going at bats. Thunder Empire will be prevalent in the game for a while, by the looks of it. Moving on to Dragon Arms. Biggest Dragon Arms Triple Buster has now gone to 4 copies from 3. Because of SD and you're digging into your deck a bit more and you're milling, you want the most chance to hit him and have multiple Inner Soul of a Jack at any time, as he gives the crit, the power and the penetrate, just to get over anything to deal more damage. If your opponent's close centre, it's going to be dealing and penetrate. If they're open centre, it's just dealing more criticals. Anything like that. Triple Buster is amazing. Definitely run it at 4. Next Dragon Arms, we still have 2 copies of Dragon Arms Wygo. When it leaves the Soul of a Neo Dragon, you get 2 gauge. To build that gauge up means you get more plays. You need a little bit more gauge in this build. Not much more, just like 1 or 2. If you want to do more plays, you can still do a lot of stuff with 2-3 gauge. So, but Wygo just helps out. Next, a new edition, not a new card, but a new edition is Dragon Arms Telnada, I think. Its ability is when it enters the soul of a Neo Dragon from the field or drop zone, you gain a gauge. Really useful in tight situations where maybe you have 1 gauge. You can then call your Galaxy Jack. It's obviously the core cost is to put carbon drops into the soul. You put it in, you get that gauge back. So your Galaxy call is basically free, and then you have a gauge to call something, to use Galaxy's effect and call something on top. So yeah, he's there just for the kind of those tight situations like that, and just to build up your gauge a little bit more in general as well. So next, 2 copies of Garblanca still. I found 2 was enough, considering how much you can get cards and drop them back into the soul of cards on your field. If you feel you want to bump it up or down. I don't really see anyone run Garblanca. I don't know why. I think people feel they can just rush out, but Garblanca is really useful for in terms of, you know, if you have like a Galaxy on the field and an SD. That is, and your opponent's at 5, you just blink for 5 and then they can't do anything. There's very little spells or defense spells anyway that can't be nulled at the minute. So, and then if you have a Triple Buster, that's 6, anything like that. So you can just do big plays like that, and you basically win the game because you've got a spell nullifier in the soul. So it's really useful. Very, very good. Also, if you go first against something like Darkness Dragon World, you can get it in to stop their invitation to Death Ground, because that shuts down your Galaxy plays annoyingly. So yeah, it just makes sure you can keep going at your opponent, making sure you are OTKing them, stuff like that. Finally for Dragon Arms, we run 3 copies of Dragon Arms Mayday, even more useful in this build with the addition of Hero Jack. So his ability is when it's in the soul of a Neo Dragon, once per turn you can call a size 2 or less Neo Dragon from your hand by paying its core cost. So yeah, you can use that, so you can go Galaxy Skill into full Liberate, Mayday into Hero Jack for 3 gauge, which is an absolutely amazing play in just 4 attacks. If you've got Triple Buster in there, you're doing 4, 3, 3, 4. So that's what, like, bad at math, 14 crit for 3 gauge. Even, yeah, with 1 Triple Buster. So yeah, Mayday's really good. Also, there's a lot of in this build, you sometimes still have a Jack left on the field after your opponent's turn, so you can then attack with that and then Mayday into a Galaxy and then do some more plays from there. Mayday really important. 3 is definitely the minimum number you should have it at, I think. Maybe 4 if you just want a bit more, because sometimes I was digging for it and I couldn't get into it just because of how useful it was. So yeah, Mayday very good. And finally, for monsters, we run 2 copies of Jackknife Worldlinker. The new Jack Impact Monster, this is the only one I run. I don't run Gargantua Punisher. I find it's too gauge heavy and can often be a dead card in your hand. I know a lot of the other OTK builds like to run Galactica Punisher, but then I feel like you have to run something like Star Remnant to reduce gauge, and I don't really have the space for that. I don't want to take out an SD or a I'd rather have quantum ruler, because I'll get a gauge in a draw, and I mean, yeah, I might not be able to, I'll have to spend more gauge during the rest of the turn, but I usually have it. It's not a heavy gauge deck. So yeah, and then if you run Galaxy, you kind of feel obliged to run J-Galaxin, which I don't like either. I'd rather use Triple Buster. So this is why we run World Linker anyway, because he's only 2 gauge, and he combos amazingly with full Liberate. So ideally, you'll do a big play in the Galaxy into full Liberate, maybe into Hero if you've got enough gauge, and then into World Linker, you know, if you've used a Weiger to build up more gauge. So yeah, obviously his effect is, if you don't know, its core cost is put down card of a Jackknife and pay 2 gauge. Counteract, advance to future, choose a monster with Jackknife in this card's soul, and this card gains all abilities of the chosen card for the rest of the turn. You may only use that skill once per turn, which makes it fair. So yeah, so you just slap it on top of Jack, hopefully there's a full Liberate in the soul. I mean, I've even done it where I've called an SD to the centre, milled 3, there's been a full Liberate there, put that in the soul, attack for SD, go into the final phase, get 2 attacks off World Linker. So we're good. And even if you're desperate and you're going to chance that your opponent doesn't have a shield in hand, you can just go from turn 1, just go full Liberate, attack for 4, World Linker, gain the skill, attack for 6, that's 10 crit. You know, your opponent's pretty much lost at that point anyway if they didn't have any shields in opening hand. But those kind of plays are things you can do with World Linker. And it's just, I just did it sometimes when I was sat on a hero Jack, and I didn't have a full Liberating Soul, but it's just an extra attack. You know, if you have a Jack with Triple Buster in the soul on the field, it's just 2 gauge for a 4 crit attack. Usually your opponent's dropped their whole hand to survive, you know, against this deck. So usually that can finish them off. So yeah, World Linker 2 I found was enough. You might want to bump it up if you want, but often it was just the finisher. So I only really needed 1. I never used multiple in a game. So I'd get 1 as soon as I got 1 in hand, because once again, like I said, you dig deep into this deck, so as soon as I got the 1, it kind of sat in my hand until I was ready to use it. So for items, we now run 4 copies of Radiant Star Linkage. It's the only weapon we run. Providence is gone. This deck is completely closed centre. You call your main Jack to your centre and you just go from there. So Linkage's skill is an equip cost of 1 gauge. Has an ability of counteract, choose a monster with Jackknife in its card name on your field. You may rest this card. If you do, stand the chosen card. This is amazing. Don't know why this is a common. Don't know why this is a card at all. Because it's just an amazing card that helped me just push for more damage. Like I said, you can go for like 14 crit at your opponent for 3 gauge, as I talked about in that combo. If you have this on the field, yeah, it's 1 extra gauge, but like I said, this deck can build up quite easily. You know, that takes 14 to 18, and then if for some reason you've got, you can go World Linker as well. That's, oh, excuse me, that's like 26 crit in 1 turn. So yeah, this can just help make some mad plays, more attacks. You know, if your opponent opens for a lot of shields, this helps you just bury through them. Really good card. 4 might be too many, because sometimes, you know, you draw into when you need it, so maybe bump it down. But I ran it at 4 just for consistency to make sure I had it. Also, if you know your opponent plays spells or monsters that can pop items, you can replace it easily enough then. So for spells, we run 3 copies of Starbeliever. But there's up to 3 from 2, because I got another few copies, but I think 3 is the right number to have it at. Its ability is remove a soul from a Neo Dragon on your field. Draw 2 cards, gain 1 life. Can be combined with Weiger to gain an extra 2 gauge as well. So you just cross nice Weiger, play this, remove Weiger, draw 2, gain 1 life, 2 gauge. Then you're pretty much set. The little life gain helps out. Obviously, once again, the draw power. You really want to be digging through your deck to get what you want, set up your drop zone, things like that. So of course, in the same vein, we still run 2 copies of Dragon Arms Factory. Discard a Dragon Arms, draw 2. Usually was the case that I'd discard a Triple Buster and then call Jack, put that Triple Buster into the soul for its core cost. So I haven't really lost anything. I've set myself up and drawn 2 cards. So yeah, because usually if you can't do this, you usually have to call your Triple Buster down, call something else that brings you over the side limit, so Triple Busters leave the field, and then you call your Jack out. But ideally you do this first, and then you set. 3 copies of Star Jack Repair. If you have a Jackknife on the field, you gain a gauge, then choose a card from your drop zone and put it into a card on your field soul. It doesn't have to be the Jack, you just have to have a Jack on the field, but it pretty much is Jack all the time. You're not going to be putting a soul into a Quantum Ruler or a Dragon Arms, so yeah. Really good card, really just helps you put stuff in the soul you need depending on the situation. Do you need, is your opponent at 3 life? Can you just swing with a spell nullifier for game? Do you need a triple buster for more crits for the turn? Do you need a mayday because you've got stuff in hand you can call during your battle phase? Anything like that, Star Jack Repair really just helps you set up. 3 is a good number. Still repping the 1 copy of Sun Wormhole. Nearly took it out this time, really nearly did, but I did. There was a shop tournament the day before, on the Friday before the actual event. The tournament for a buy, which I won, and it just was really helpful in terms of just, it always appeared when I needed it, or maybe just when I had it I thought, oh, I can use it to do this kind of thing. So it just was always useful and I couldn't bring myself to take it out. Its ability is pay 1 gauge, choose one of the following: 2, call a size 2 or less monster from your drop zone by paying its core cost, or counter, call a size 1 monster from your hand by paying its core cost. So if you have a lot of gauge and nothing else, you can call a Jack from the drop zone to start making some plays. You can call an SD, or you can call a Quantum Ruler to get your gauge back and then you'll get a draw, just to build up your hand a bit more if you're digging for something. You can, during the battle phase, call an SD or a Quantum Ruler. So say you slam the SD down to get something in your soul that you really wanted, you can then go into your battle phase, attack with SD, play this, replace the SD with either actually another SD or a Quantum Ruler. You get another attack off and usually gain an advantage, either get another soul or you get a gauge and a draw to make some more plays or anything like that. Also, if your opponent plays impacts that require you to have an open centre looking at you, Thunder Empire, as soon as they utter final phase, you just say no thank you, slap this down, call something to your centre if you have it in hand. You just call it Dragon Arms, you call it anything, just to stop you being killed. So yeah, it was just useful for stuff like that. Finally, the MVP of the day, I found this was at 3. I bumped up to 4 after realising that Purgatory Knights were going to be everywhere. This is Crystallization Phenomenon. It is not a Prism Dragon specific spell like a lot of people thought it was. I'd play it down and they'd be like, well, you don't play Prism Dragons. It's not a Prism Dragon specific spell. It's only if your monster in the centre is being destroyed. You can counter, pay 1 life, choose a monster on your opponent's field. For this turn, nullify all the abilities of that card and rest it. So like I said, this is a closed centre deck. Your Jack's always sitting in the centre. When they destroy it once, you just place down, pay a life, and you draw a card as well, sorry, so it replaces itself, and then you go, no thank you Demios, no thank you Unyielding Bats, anything. This card is amazing. This card is the reason I probably won to a degree. It's not a auto win card, but it just means if you go first, like the meta's kind of OTK heavy at the minute with Purgatory Knights, even against the mirror match, Neo's Y, Chaos, stuff like that. Just if you have to go first and you just you cause them to center, you attack once, and then they go for it on their turn with like a Demios play, you just go, no thank you Demios, you rest, you've lost your abilities, you can't use your ability to restand. That ends their turn. It ends Purgatory Knight's turn anyway. Another Jack, Jack can kind of maybe play around it. That's the beauty of this deck as well. There's not a hard counter to it, because everything if you use this on like a Galaxy, you can then, your opponent has to go, oh well, I'll have to Mayday into something then, or something like that. It's the beauty of Jack. You can play around it. When your opponent tries to counter destruct anything, you can kind of respond to it. They kind of tried to destroy Galaxy, you just use your skill to call over it, they've lost the target. They tried to destroy your weapon, you just in response rest it to stand your Jack, and the weapon goes, but it's served its purpose. This is really good, so you just want to make sure you can make your plays. You don't want to get OTK'd if you can't finish your opponent off. If you go second and you can't finish your opponent off, you just don't get enough, or they had a load of spells in hand, it makes sure you have a second turn to try again. Really, really good, especially because Blood Sorcery is a thing in Purgatory Knights as well. This is the only thing you can do to Demios to actually stop it. So I cannot understate the importance of this card enough. It's the reason I won, obviously in combination with the rest of the deck. Because this is your defense on their turn, and then you have the massive offense join your team. So yeah, Crystallization, an amazing card. It probably should be Prism Dragon specific only, but I'm glad it is not. So finally, I'll talk about my sideboard very, very quickly, because this video, I don't want it going on 40 minutes again, but Antimatter Cloud, because Chaos and Neo-Zwei is still very much a thing. 3 copies of. This was also used to stop Hanako coming out against Toilets, which is actually my only loss for the day. A very well built toilet deck. I didn't get great hands, but then they weren't trash either. I'm not understating the deck. It was really good, played by a skilled player who just countered a lot of stuff I did, and I just didn't get enough to counter back. But anyway, yeah, Antimatter Cloud also really helped me in my final game against Neo-Zwei. Helped me win. It was what I used to pretty much win the second game for the tournament. So yeah, Antimatter Cloud, really, really good. Next, 2 copies of Debris Sweeper. Its ability is if it's in the soul of a Neo Dragon, your opponent cannot call cards from the drop zone, so it's your own invitation to Death Ground. And also, when it's in the soul of a Neo Dragon, when that Neo Dragon attacks, choose a card from your opponent's drop zone and put it on the bottom of their deck. Both these abilities are really, really good. You can use this against the mirror match to stop them making Galaxy plays. You can also put against the mirror match and against Neo-Zwei, put their Dragon Arms onto the bottom of the deck. It stops, obviously like I said, stuff from being called from the drop zone, so it stops Neo-Zwei using their Eichel, whatever he's called, where you mill 3 and call 1, it becomes a size 0. Stops anything like that. It kills only assassins. There was a few people still playing it, and obviously they might be prevalent again after the next set of support. So this just says, no, you can't ambush me because you can't call it from the drop zone. So yeah, it's a real card in various situations. I might bump it up to 3, I don't know, but it was very useful for the tournament. Next, 2 copies of Artillery. I don't know why. I suppose this was more for the mirror match. If anyone else was running an OTK Jack, it doesn't do anything against Solastic because you can't nullify its abilities. But you know, it can't do much else because it's only for the battle, and everything else kind of gets over it. Like, you can't stop bats from restanding or anything like that. You can't stop Demios from doing what it does because it does it at the end of the battle. So Artillery was just mainly for like size 2 or lesses with Soul Guard, because it nullifies their effects if it's in the soul of a Neo Dragon during that battle. But I'm probably going to take this out of the sideboard. I don't know why, this was probably the worst choice I made. I never put it in the sideboard. I kind of wish I had something else maybe. Yeah, so it just kind of sat there for the whole day. So that was probably the biggest mistake of the deck, but that was the best place for it to be in the sideboard and not in the main deck. Finally, we run 3 copies of Meteor Arms Vishal? I don't know how you say that. But yeah, its ability is, the abilities of this card cannot be nullified, so if your opponent has something on the field that nullifies card effects, they can't stop you from cross-knightizing this into a card in your field. And then the abilities of all the Neo Dragon with the card. The abilities of all the Neo Dragon with this card in its soul, and the abilities of all soul cards in that Neo Dragon cannot be nullified. So this was if I came up against Style of Justice, Toilets, or any Legend World that ran Oberon, or Frozen Stars. I never did actually. I didn't actually run this card. I never actually had to put this card into my, take it out my sideboard. I'm glad it was there just in case I did though, because there was 1 or 2 Style of Justice decks. There were some Oberons from what I could see. This also stops if I fought my opponent against Prisms or any other Star Dragon World deck that was running Crystallization Phenomenon again, so I had an answer to my own hard counter. I didn't want to get caught out by that. So yeah, they can arrest your Jack, but they can't nullify its abilities because of this card, so they can still make plays if they try and do it on your Galaxy, anything like that. So yeah, really good card just in case. So I ran it at 3 just to make sure if I did have to put it in I could get to it to stop my opponent essentially shutting the deck down. So the whole thing about this deck is to make sure you can make your plays and make sure your opponent can't stop you making your plays. So that's it for my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, I will be going to Japan to represent the UK in January. Don't know what I'll be playing, can't tell you yet. If you were about to type in the comments, I don't know what support I'll have by then. I'd like to carry on taking Jack. I've now won 3rd, 2nd and 3rd using a Jackknife deck. We do get Star Dragon World support from set 4, is it set 4? Set 4, Rainbow Striker. No idea yet if we're getting any Neo Dragon support. It seems to be focused on Prisms as it is called Rainbow Striker. But hopefully Neo Dragons will get support that will keep them relevant in the meta, because there's going to be a lot of OTK decks with Thunder Empire and Do Golems and Chaos and everything like that. So we'll see how support goes. I will maybe talk about the support and what I might change, or I might try and keep it a secret for Japan. Who knows, we'll see. But I'll stop rambling now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is my deck profile. Do not hesitate to ask me any questions in the comments about choices or what matches I played, things like that, how it went. I'll try and answer as best as possible. So yeah, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I will try and make more content coming soon, because I've just been really busy recently, but I'm on kind of a high with Buddyfight and stuff like that now. Vanguard as well, I'll be updating my Vanquisher deck. I will make a profile on that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Ben from VGBlaster, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.